Sometimes I wonder what it would look like if our greatest pursuit wasn't our idea of success or fame or fortune, but what if our greatest pursuit was just dwelling in the presence of God? David says something to that effect in Psalms 27:4. One thing have I desired of the Lord, that will I seek, that I may dwell in the house of the Lord all the days of my life, to behold the beauty of the Lord and to inquire into his temple. Now, in order to understand this fully, I think taking a look at the Hebrew meaning for that word dwell is what we should do. And so the Hebrew word for the word dwell here is yashav. Yashav, it's associated with different contexts, but it's usually meaning to sit, to dwell, or to remain. Because we're so busy, because we've got a lot of pressure on us, we've got a lot of things that we want to do. A lot of times we take the effort out of communing with God and sitting with God and being in God's presence to what we're doing for God. And one of the things that I'm reminded about a lot is that I am not created to just do, right? We are human beings. We are created to be. And so if you're going to be something, be in God's presence. And that's what I want to talk about today, because this is extremely important. Dwelling in God's presence is the one thing, the one most pivotal thing that you can do in order to deepen your relationship with God and to lead better, right? Lead in every aspect. As a worship creative, that is what you are. You can lead in every aspect, whether that is in the private sector, on a job, whether that is in church, that's leading worship, that's playing an instrument, that's holding the door open. Whatever it is that you do, however it is that you create for the benefit of God and building God's kingdom, communing with God should be your one pursuit. Now, we see many examples of this in the Bible, from Moses, who dwelt with God. We remember him going up to the mountain and then coming down with the aura of God. I don't even know how to describe it, but even the people, the Israelites, they were saying his face looks different. He looks like he's glowing because he was in God's presence. We see that with David, obviously, in the Old Testament as well. David was before God a lot, a man after God's own heart, the Bible says. Jesus, even after all of the healing that he did, after all of the teaching and preaching that Jesus did, Jesus spent more time praying. He spent more time isolated and away from people in order to commune with the Father. Now, if Jesus can do that, and if Jesus felt the need to do that, just say, I think it's important for all of us in a creative space where we are worshiping, where we're leading people into an atmosphere of worship, that we commune with God. And I know that there are plenty of reasons why we don't have enough time, we don't have enough space, but is that really an excuse to miss out on communing with God? Is that really an excuse to be distant from God? I mean, have you ever felt distant? Maybe you feel that right now. Maybe you felt that recently, distant in your relationship with God. You felt like maybe you were not as creative as you could have been. Maybe you're not thinking on your feet. Maybe you're using rehearsed lines in the middle of worship or in the middle of ministering, however it is that you do that, because you haven't had any fresh manna. Maybe you haven't had a fresh download, or maybe you feel like you are communing with God, but it can switch up a bit, right? Maybe God isn't giving you what you felt like he was giving you this whole time before. That's normal. Listen, I have been there plenty of times where either I'm distant, right? Because I'm caught in my sin, whatever that is, and I'm having a good time. And I don't want to come back to God right now. I'm upset, maybe at church people. I'm just not feeling as creative. A lot of times we call it writer's block. Sometimes I have those moments where I'm just like, I don't want to do this today. Like, I don't want to be all prayed up and all that. Like, they made me mad. I want to fight. I want to cuss them out. Like, I don't want to be a child of the Most High God today. I just want to be me, who I feel like I am. Like, I'm trying to take him back to the streets, like, at the end of the day. Trust me, I've been there. There have been times, even recently, where I'm just like, am I really cut out for this? Do I really need to do this? is this really me? Or is this somebody that I'm trying to be? Is this somebody that I'm trying to imitate rather than authentically who I am? I've had to ask myself those questions many times, especially recently. Whenever you feel spiritually distant, that is the time you dig in. That is the time you go harder. You know, I got the lesson from a worship pastor. So every year I take a month off from leading worship. And that's just basically I want to sit in the pew. I'm not doing nothing. I listen, I had enough of y'all. This is my time, finally, where I am legitimately disconnected. I'm not going to rehearsals. I'm not showing up for the prayer meeting, for the intercession. I am not doing any of that. I am taking a month off stage. Now, I thought that I was doing this because I wanted to prevent my own self from being burnt out. But one year in particular, I got to a point where, okay, I was like, I'm excited for this month off that I'm taking, and I'm looking forward to it because I don't feel like me and God and I, however English you want to use, is in the place where we need to be. And I remember the worship pastor, he was telling me, he says, Lawrence, that is exactly the time where you want to lean in. Those times where maybe you don't feel like reading your Bible. Those times where you don't feel like praying as much. You don't feel like maintaining your prayer life. Those times where you don't feel like you need to lead worship or you can lead worship because you are distant from God. He said, Lawrence, that is the time where you need to be up there. That is the time where you need to lean into doing what God has called you to do. And I was like, well, I don't think this makes any sense. If I feel like there is a chasm in my relationship with God, then why would I be up leading worship? He said, well, that is exactly what the enemy wants. If the enemy can get all of us to stop ministering, however it is that we do it, either through song or through instrument or in our homes, in a coffee shop with gift cards to strangers. If the enemy can get us to stop ministering because we don't feel as connected to God, because God is not just showing up on our doorstep with the scroll every morning, if the enemy can do that to enough of us, then there's no kingdom to be built. Dwelling means to stay. Dwelling means to sit. Dwelling means to remain. When we find ourselves remaining in God, dwelling in his presence, cultivating and maintaining that relationship with him, then I feel like we find ourselves in a position where we lead better, where we minister better, where we represent God better. It's also operating with the idea that my relationship with God is more important. What's your most important relationship? What is the relationship that gives you the most value? What is the relationship that's just most important to you? And to some of us, even worship leaders, even creatives in the worship space, our most important relationship is not God. It's our family members. It's our son or our daughter. It's our wife or our husband, right? Our most important relationship, our most valuable relationship is with our parents or our mentor or pastors. And I want us to reframe that. The relationship that we should focus on the most is with God. We should be dwelling in his presence. And that leads me to my next point. Worship is not a road. On a road, you can go to and fro. I think that we should start thinking of worship as a place in God's presence. Your worship is dwelling in God's presence. Your worship is not this to and fro. It's not this back and forth. You can't come here and then go there. Right? Your worship is dwelling in God's presence. What I want us to do is remain in the presence of God. It's not enough for us to just get there. It's not enough for us to just visit. That's not dwelling. It has to be remaining in God's presence. And I want us to get so strongly fired up and consumed with that idea that nothing else matters because nothing else does. Nothing else does. At the end of the day, kings and kingdoms will all pass away, but there is only one thing heaven and earth will pass away. My word will remain the same. There is nothing else that matters. There is no other what other conversation is there to have if it is not staying in God's presence? What other issue is there to deal with if it is not staying in God's presence and being before God, cultivating and maintaining a prayer life and a worship lifestyle? What else is there to do? And that leads me to another point. As worship creatives, I want us to prioritize personal worship. And this may look different for all of us. I know it looks different for me. So I'm not saying that you have to do what I do, but listen, here's what I do. First of all, I wake up early because the day is filled, it's long, there's a lot of things to do, and I work full time, got a bunch of hobbies. There's a lot to be done. But I don't want to go throughout my day without communing with God. And I mean all day. I want God from the start. And I find it hard to pray, to read my Bible, to meditate, all of that kind of good stuff at the end of the day, right? Because when my head hit the pillow, I'm out. Okay, do you understand me? I'm out. But I find it easier to just start my day with God. And the other reason why I like to get up early and commune with God is because I believe so strongly in tithing everywhere, not just money, but tithing time. I want to give God my first fruits. The first person I want to talk to when I get out of bed is God. Simple as that. I don't care to get a download from nobody. I don't care what's happening up on the news, to be quite honest with you. I'm not interested in what's going on around the world. I already know we in the end times. It is what it is. I'm not concerned with anything else. The only thing that I feel is important, the moment my feet hit the floor, really before my feet hit the floor, when my eyes open, I want to talk to my Father. I need to have a conversation with him. I need to commune with him. I need to dwell. And sometimes it may look different for you, but sometimes I like to think that God is an introvert and he don't want to hear us talk a lot. So sometimes just sitting in God's presence is enough. Maybe that's listening to worship music. Sometimes for me, it's just like a puzzle. It's just coloring book. I mean, no, I'm not being fed from anybody else. I don't have the radio on. I don't have the TV on. I'm not around my electronics. It's just me and God. We are just sitting. We are dwelling. Sometimes it's a walk around the block or a walk in the park with just me and God. Dwelling, communing with him. That's the first thing that I want to do when I get up, because I am prioritizing personal worship. It is not enough for me to lead people to a place I don't go. I'm going to let that sit. The other thing that I think is a practical step for worship leaders and worship creatives is balancing performance with authentic worship. And listen, we can get that muddy so many times because there's so many other things to think about, especially the larger the audience, the larger the building, the larger the congregation, then the more things you just have to think about. You got to think about cameras, you got to think about lighting, you got to think about airflow, you got to think about mics, and it's just, there's a lot. There's so many moving parts that it almost seems like it's too hard to keep up with. And instead of like conducting a service or at least singing in a service, sometimes it seems like we're conducting a stage play. I'm gonna let that sit too, because a lot of times we put more emphasis into our performance than we do to our worship. We spend more time rehearsing for Sunday than praying for Sunday. I'm gonna let that sink in too. There's just so much that needs to be sink. I feel like I could end it right there. Maybe we can do another episode on what else I got to talk about, because I think it's important that, and I'm gonna keep hammering this home, that worship is not just something that we do on Sundays, but it's something that we do every single day. And if you are creative in the worship space, I am talking to you. I'm talking to the worship leader. I'm talking, if you sing on a worship team, if you play an instrument at church, if you are a pastor or a minister or a deacon or a trustee, if you are getting up and you are pastoring people or leading people in that for worship, if you open the doors of the church, literally, if you clean the bathrooms, if you manage and help facilitate parking in the parking lot, I am talking to you because all of you, all of us, we cultivate an atmosphere of worship on Sundays. But we can't do that effectively. We certainly cannot do it in authenticity without having a personal worship with God, having a personal relationship with God. And so prioritizing authentic worship over performance has to be it every day. We see that in our own lives. We do things in our own lives where we prioritize the value of whatever we are producing rather than the package that it's in. Do that with worship. I prioritize much more the fact that I am having that time with God than the way it may look like to you or the way it may come off on Sunday morning. It is important for me to have that relationship. And people can feel that. Listen, people can feel that. People know whether or not you got your prayer life together. Don't get me wrong. There are definitely some creatives who can fake it, can have me bamboozled. And I will be honest in saying I could be gullible. I know I am. And I know a lot of y'all ain't going to admit that because, you know. Anyways, the other practical step to maintaining a relationship with God and a personal worship relationship with God is maintaining the right heart posture. This is hard. That's hard. Maintaining the right heart posture. First of all, what does that even mean? That means always in your heart, in your mind, maintaining an atmosphere for God to dwell. So I gotta put it like this. You got to clean that junk out. I'm gonna let that sit. You got to clean that junk out. All of the junk that you are piling on, you have to clean it out. It is not a space where God can dwell. I think of it like this. People be inviting me all the time to their houses. You think I'm going? Absolutely not. Because people don't clean their houses. And you know how I know you don't clean your house? Because your pictures are all on Instagram. They all on Facebook. They all over TikTok. And all behind you in your pictures is a dirty room, is a dirty bathroom, is a dirty car. I'm not coming to your house, please. No. Because I don't want to be somewhere filthy. Why would I want to go? It's the same thing with our spiritual walk. I don't want to bring God into, because he's with me wherever I go. He never leaves me nor forsake me. I don't want to bring him into dirty places. That's just me. I don't want to bring God to contaminated places. That's just me. That ain't got to be your story, though. But I think maintaining the right heart posture is good. Clearing your heart of the junk. Of what, Lawrence? Of the gossip. Yeah, no, of the chaos. Of the who's who, of the what's what. Clearing your heart of your greed and your pride and your selfishness. Clearing your heart, your mind of the defensive mentality, the I am right, they're all wrong mentality. Clearing your heart. All of these things can be idols to us. And I don't think we ever realize that. All of these things become our idols. Our pride becomes our idols. The things that we, not just what we materialize, not just the things we go pick up at the store or we order off Amazon, or our destructive behaviors that we blame on our zodiac sign, or say it's a personality trait. End it. Clear it out. Get rid of it. Get rid of that thinking. Get rid of that ideology. And allow space where God can dwell. Clear it out. Don't bring God into mess. And when I say clear it out, I don't mean that go work on yourself and then come to Jesus when you all set. No. I mean, come to Jesus just as you are. I mean, swarm around the throne just as you are, filled and filthy, just like I am, filled and filthy of things that are not like God. but it's coming to God and saying, I want to be free from all of this. I want it gone. You take it. Your heart posture is your ability to let go of the things that are not beneficial to your future. Your heart posture is being willing to renounce, denounce, get rid of whatever word you want to use. I'm okay with it. All I'm saying is, at the end of the day, be not only okay, but run, throwing it to God, knowing I can no longer hold on to this and I can't fix it. I can't fix it. God, you have to step in. God, you have to do something. Maintain the right heart posture. And you know whether or not you have the right heart posture when you look at the things that you are really chasing, right? And so I would ask, what is that one thing that you are chasing? If I looked at your bank account, if I audited your time, what would it tell me about what you prioritize? Would it tell me that you prioritize your time with God? That you prioritize your time with people? That you prioritize your time with yourself? What would it tell me? I think that as worship creatives, if we audited our time, we should clearly see that our one focus, our one desire is to dwell. God, I don't want to just visit. I don't want to just see you and hear you and speak to you on Sunday mornings. What is that one thing that you are chasing? What is that one? Oh, maybe I should ask it a different way. What is that one thing you're running from? What is it that you are holding on to that maybe you think God may be ashamed of you for? Listen, I came to tell you, I got good news for you. There is now, therefore, no condemnation to those that are in Christ Jesus. So whatever it is that you're holding on to, wherever it is that you have been, however it is that you feel like maybe you have let God down, or whatever it is, I want you to freely bring that to God. And today, cultivate and maintain an atmosphere, a relationship, a place, a space of worship. It may look different than mine. Mine starts at 4:30 a.m. I want to get up. I want prayer. I want to work out. I want to meditate. I want to read my Bible. I want to commune with God. I want to be with God. I want him to be the first person that I talk to. And then at night, I'm praying to God, whether in my head or out of my mouth. I'm listening to scriptures as I sleep because I want God to be the last thing that I think about, that I talk about before I go to sleep. That's just me. Yours may look different. Maybe your prayer time is carving out time in the afternoon. Maybe your time is listening to an audio Bible on your way to and from work. Whatever that looks like for you, do it. But just do it. No. Don't just do worship on Sunday mornings. I want you to be in a place of worship. I want you to dwell there. Don't just drop by. Set aside intentional time to just dwell in God's presence. It's going to feel a little weird if you're not used to doing that, or maybe you haven't done that in a long time. And I want to encourage you that you're not alone, that you're not the only one who has gone through this feeling. You are not alone, but it's important. It's important. You need to do it. You have to do it. So in closing, I got a quote I want to leave you with, something to think about. The greatest calling we have is to simply be with him. When our hearts are anchored in his presence, everything else falls into place. May this be our prayer, not just today, but for a lifetime. I hope that is your prayer. I see you back next week for more engaging content. This is the podcast where we connect, inspire, we grow, we challenge one another, we learn things, we get tools, and we just have lighthearted and fun-filled conversations. So I'll see you back next week.